Thank you for joining in. We'll just wait a little bit longer for more people to come in. We will get started momentarily. Okay, so I'll get started. I'm sure more people will be coming in as I provide some housekeeping information. As you can see on the slide, this session is being recorded. Next slide. Some of you may know this already if you've been with us this entire week. There's a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Please use the screen to pose or type your questions, and we will do our best to answer them. We have an awesome group of students and staff members who are ready to answer your questions. We'll answer as many as we can. We also ask that you don't share any personal information or your student in the Q&A, and to keep your questions general. In some instances, your question might be helpful to the entire group who's here. So that's why we're asking for you to keep your questions general. We will submit questions privately, and if you can, we will submit answers privately, and if you can submit your questions anonymously, that would be great as well. Next slide. Welcome everyone. My name is Karina Vier. I'm the Senior Officer for the Office of Parent and Family Programs at UC San Diego. And I am joined by some wonderful partners and friends, both professional staff and students of UC San Diego, who are here to talk to you about their own experience at the university. And I think that the perfect people to really talk about what UC San Diego feels like, and their experience at the university from a variety of different perspectives. So at this moment, I'd like to pass it along to May, who will be our moderator today. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Karina. So as Karina mentioned, my name is May Thatch, and I'm the program coordinator for the International Peer Coaching Pilot Program. I'm gonna have one of my colleagues introduce herself as well while we're here. And then these are the two partners that we have in our program. One is Jackie Durer, and she's the program manager for the Transfer Student Success.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Fuller. I'm the manager of International Student Experience and Engagement at the International Students and Programs Office, also commonly referred to as ISPO. So as you can see, we have a lot of incredible cross-campus collaborations, both with our parent and family programs, as well as with our international peer coaching pilot program. So we're really excited for you to get to hear from our students today.
Thank you, Grace. So a little bit more about our program here at the International Peer Coaching Pilot Program. We offer several different services for our students, and one of the services that we offer is, of course, one-on-one peer coaching, professional development, leadership development, social and cultural events, and also weekly check-ins with our international first year and transfer students. Within our team, we have 2 staff members, 6 undergraduate international students. You'll meet 5 of them today, and then 2 undergraduate international transfer students. So here at the program, we are here to provide resources, services, and programs to aid incoming international and transfer students to achieve their goals as they navigate UCSD's academic and cultural landscape. We have international undergraduate students who work as peer coaches. And so these students, they've been where your students' shoes have been. They understand the experience as an international student. And so they're here to give back to their community, help incoming international students thrive on campus. Okay, so how the program works is that we will have a cohort. All of our students will reach out to all incoming students within their colleges, but they also will request to have a cohort of students who then would join their personal channel, which is called the using through Microsoft Teams. And within each channel, this is where our peer coaches will provide personal one-on-one attention and peer coaching services to our students. But overall, all of our students, all of our peer coaches will support the incoming class this year. And then, of course, like I mentioned with our partnership with the Transfer Success Program, we have 2 undergraduate international transfer students who will be working with all incoming international transfer students for this year. And in addition, our students in our programs are supported by not only their peer coaches, it'll be myself and other staff members in our partnering offices. And in addition, our peer coaches plan and participate in a variety of cross-cultural programs and activities that are open to all students at UCSD. So we want to not just work with our international student community, we also want to bridge the partnership with our domestic students as well through this program. And the next program I want to mention is ISPO, the International Students and Program Offices. As most of you have already known them, but these are just a few of the services that they offer. ISPO offers the pre-arrival and orientation for your international student, advising services throughout their time here at UCSD, of course, any visa and status support services, and lastly, they host a variety of programs and events here on campus for our students. And our third partnered group, program is the Triton Transfer Hub. This is where they have peer coaches that are available for any questions that your student might have regarding their transfer student identity. And then they'll be hosting lots of transfer specific social events, professional and academic workshops throughout the year. And of course, they offer a lot of asynchronous content on their website as well. And then lastly, they also have parents, family, and anyone who support international transfer students. They offer a bi-weekly newsletter that gives transfer-specific opportunities and events for our students. So if you would like to keep up with that, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So I've talked a lot, and I know the main majority of this session is going to be for our student panels. And so last but not least, I'll introduce you to our student panel here. And these are the 4 that are speaking with you all today. And I'll have them unmute themselves and introduce themselves to you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Lei. I am from Saigon, Vietnam. I go by she, her, hers, and I am currently a 4th year international studies sociology major. And I will pass on to my friend Annie.
Hi everyone, my name is Eni Kuku. My gender pronouns are he, him, his. I come from Warri, a small town in Nigeria. That's my flag in the background. I'm a student in Revelle College and I'm a 4th year mechanical engineering major. And I'll pass it on to my colleague, Ayushi.
Hello everybody, I'm Ayushi Agrawal. I go by she, her, hers. And I'm originally from India. I've been living in Mexico City for the past couple years. I'm a 4th year clinical psych major in John Muir College. I will pass it on to Shutang.
Hi everyone, my name is Shuting Wang. My gender pronouns is she, her, and hers. I'm from Hefei, China, and my college is Eleanor Roosevelt College, and my major is International Business and Political Science. I'm gonna introduce myself in Chinese again, just in case some of the parents here are from China. 大家好，我的名字是王舒婷，我来自合肥，安徽，然后我的学院是 ERC， 然后我的专业是国际贸易和政治科学。谢谢大家。
Thank you, everyone. First we'll start with our questions, and so feel free to chime in if you have any comments regarding questions, if there's anything missing, if you'd like to, just feel free to unmute yourself. So our first question is, where are you learning from and how did you adapt to the changes?
All right, I can start on this one. So I'm learning from home, which is Mexico City for me. And I think the most difficult part of adapting to this in-person to virtual classes was being able to distinguish my personal time from my academic time. So in person, I was able to go to class and then physically transition to socializing with friends, attending meetings, talking to my family. Everything was done in different areas, but now everything's on my desk, staring at a screen over Zoom. And so I felt myself getting tired and unmotivated, and I was just hopping on from one Zoom call to another one. And I think what helped me most getting over this Zoom fatigue was setting boundaries for myself. So after long periods of staring at a screen, I would get up and grab a snack, remember to drink water, maybe disengage from all my devices and do something physical. So go on a walk, I don't know, wrestle with my little brother. I also switched from taking notes on my laptop, which I used to do before, to taking notes on in a notebook with a pen, just because I didn't want to be staring at a screen the whole day. And I think the biggest part of this has been interacting with my mom, my dad, and my little brother, because we're all kind of going through the same thing, being so virtual, and so we've been each other's support system.
Yeah, I can talk a little about that as well. First of all, I completely agree with everything, almost everything Ayushi said. I shared similar experiences, first coming to a virtual learning environment and being unmotivated initially, just because doing everything via Zoom, via technology, just becomes draining after a while. So setting time aside to do less technology dependent things definitely did a lot for me. But I would say for me, the biggest thing was setting routines for myself. I found out that I had to stick to a routine. And when you go to class and you go to lecture on a daily basis, things are kind of set out for you. You have to be at this class at this time and things of that nature. But virtual learning, a lot of the time, your classes, you can almost take them at your own pace, especially if perhaps the time zone doesn't work out for you as it is the case for a lot of my friends. So you might have to watch lectures asynchronously. But I'm actually in San Diego. I'm learning from my house in San Diego. So the time difference does work out for me. So I end up just setting routines for myself. It could just be like the smallest schedules, but I try to just stick to it as best as I can, because I notice that the moment I start deviating, it trickles down into everything I do. So I wake up, I work out, I eat, I go to my lectures, set aside a little bit of time to study, some time for homework, intentionally set aside time for my friends, for my hobbies, such as like watching basketball games and things like that, time to talk to my family, and I incorporate all of that into my schedule, and I just try to stick to it as much as I can.
Thank you, coaches. So on to our second question. It's asking, how do you stay virtually connected to UC San Diego?
Oh, this one is a hard one, but I think just like a general advice is being proactive. It's actually easier to take your shots online than it was to take it in person. So if someone's Zoom background's cool, it's easier to private message them than going up to them in person being like, hey, I love what you're wearing today. If I find an event that sounds cool to attend, it's easier to attend it because I don't need to walk there. I can just click on a Zoom Meet link and be there. So I've had much more of an opportunity to get involved. Also, starting conversations instead of waiting for someone else to start them. I found there was a student in my psychology class that also worked at the same veterans research department that I did. So I messaged her and now we have a text conversation thread going where we rant about how hot our building used to be and how the elevator was so slow. So yeah, it's definitely something that I had to get used to.
Yeah, and just talking more about the social side with that too. ISPO, for instance, holds a lot of events throughout the year, and even our program does too, the International Peer Coaching Pilot Program. And we have these events that are tailor-made to meet new students in a virtual setting. We encourage conversation, facilitate conversation, but really it's just a space for students to get together and talk and create that space for them. But on an academic side of things, in terms of staying connected, I've found since we went virtual that I've been able to attend a lot more office hours than I could before. And for anybody who's unaware, office hours are just spaces that are created by the professors of the classes. They set aside time where they can talk to students about just things, literally anything that the student wants to talk about, but usually related to the class and things that they didn't really understand that much. Usually when it's on campus, because of how big campus is, you might have office hours that clash with a class, or you might have to walk 20 minutes away just to go to office hours, and that might be discouraging. But now that all you have to do is click a link, I've been just attending pretty much every office hours that I can when I feel like I need it for a particular class. So that has been great. I feel like I've been pretty on top of that. But as I usually said, everyone kind of does have to be a lot more comfortable with being proactive in terms of how that would allow you to stay virtually connected.
Thank you. So our next question is, what have you learned about yourself in remote learning?
Okay, I'll go first. So I guess is to be bold and brave with the content that you present. Trust the process. You know how the remote learning process can be really intimidating at first because we are technically transferred to a area like where we have never been in before. So trust the process, even though you feel the lecture is boring or the video that you're watching is boring, it's actually intimidating in some sense, where you have to sit there and focus for a very long time. You don't have any other distraction. You don't have any other people to talk to. You need to trust the process that you need to focus on this video and just go through it. And second is create structure, space, and order in your home learning arc. So during the few event that we held for incoming international students, we asked them to share what's your ideal or what's your ways to deal with the struggle that you can focus. Many people have shared that they would master new digital tools by doing a 15-minute review of like one new instructional resource a day, which I think is really important to kind of pave out like a very small amount of time during your day to do something that you're interested in. And it's easy for you to follow along and be persistent too. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I totally agree with, staying organized as the best tool to focus, especially in like a very hectic remote learning environment. I actually take this question a bit differently. I learned how to relax, which is very funny, as like obvious, but that's something I have to learn. Just as important as doing my homework or doing chores, I need to learn, to take time for myself to rewind after a long day of class and work, and do some face masks here and there. Really take time for myself in order to rejuvenate and re-energize to like for tomorrow and for a long week to come. So yeah, definitely I have been learning to taking time for myself.
Another thing I can add to that, kind of based off of what Annie said about creating a routine, was I learned how to create a routine. So how to distinguish from, okay, before I used to just be able to walk from one place to another, but now I have to physically change my mindset and be like, now I was doing homework. Now I'm going to focus on lab work. Now I'm going to focus on sitting and having dinner. So it's helped me compartmentalize better.
Yeah, and hopping off that too, I think what I learned about myself that I really truly didn't know before was that I needed to stay active in order for my mental health to be in a good space. And I know like during the quarantine, the lockdown initially, we were all kind of cooped up and I didn't realize, but that was affecting me. And it was trickling into everything I was doing. So again, with the routines, I intentionally set time aside just to do physical things. Like even when I couldn't go to the gym, I would set aside time to go on walks at night in areas that are very sparsely populated, and just little things like that, and just staying physical. Personally, for me, it was like really good for me and my mental health.
Thank you, everyone. So our next question is, how are your family and friends supporting you in this time of remote learning?
My family, I would talk to my family through WeChat every day, especially with my parents. I would FaceTime, video chatting with them every day, almost exceeds an hour each day. So I think that's really adds up to like a huge amount of time. And I actually feel way more connected to my parents than before, because before, when everything's in person, I don't really have the time to carve out necessarily an hour a day to carve out for talking to my parents. But now I have the time to do that, and especially with the potential WeChat ban thing, I taught my parents how to how to use FaceTime and iMessages, and through that, I think that actually strengthen our bond. And I think it's a really cool way for us to communicate with our parents. And for friends, we would do Netflix parties and Zoom calls. It's really interesting, and some online games too. It's really interesting how people can be creative in this time of this difficult time to stay connected with other people. Yeah.
Kind of to add on to that, I think my friends are some of the only people who understand what I'm going through, because they're going through the exact same thing. They're also cooped up, quarantine, taking lectures virtually. So we have weekly check-ins that we do with each other, make sure we're all okay. Sometimes it goes off into a deep conversation. Sometimes, like Shutang said, we just play online games with each other. We had an Among Us party a couple days ago, which was fun. And then I'm with my family, so I'm living in the same household as my family. And so one of the things we had to create was an understanding that we need our space to take classes, go to meetings, whatever. So I had to have a conversation with my family that when I have class, it's important for me to be in a calm space. So I would either put on headphones or ask them to keep their voices down, have minimal interferences, maybe make my parents aware of my daily schedule. So yeah, I have this panel that we're doing for an hour, so please don't be too loud, because there's about 50 people watching. So yeah, just establishing rules.
Yeah, and also I'm in SD, like physically in SD right now. So I'm my parents are back in China, and I understand that's a lot of that's a big problem for international students to be separated from their parents, their family, kind of. So yeah, try to talk to your kid, or to talk to your parents in once a day to stay connected. It'll actually it makes your mental health to be better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and very similarly to everyone else has said, communication it's key to establish boundaries, as well as checking in with people that you love, and just taking time for yourself to better your own mental health. I am also living in San Diego, so my parents are in Vietnam, and we also dedicate an hour every night to talk to each other, check in to see my brother's planning his wedding. So like it's very exciting. So yeah, and then with my roommates who I'm living with, we actually give each other our schedule to make sure that, oh, this is the time that I'm gonna be having class or working or etc. Please keep quiet. And when we do want to work together, we set aside like a 15-minute rule. So 45, we intensely focus to study, and then 15 minutes we can like relax and talk to each other, share each other what we just learned in the past 45 minutes, and it repeat the cycle. So that's been a very good working pattern that I have with my roommates.
All right, thank you everyone. So this is gonna be the next one's gonna be our last question for the panel, but then we'll have a time where there's dedicated question and answering time from the participants as well. So our last question is, what advice do you have for families and their students as they begin the fall quarter at UC San Diego?
Okay, no, go Vanessa.
Yeah, I just want to stress my previous point that communication is key, whether the student is away from home on campus or staying at home. It's very important that they communicate with parents and anyone that they share a living space with, that there are times that they need to be quiet or there are times that they need support. So yes, over communication is always preferred, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was actually gonna also talk about communication. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think if I could go back in time and I would be entering as a freshman, what I would tell myself and my parents is just to allow myself time to adjust, while trying to be proactive about everything and anything, but also not getting down on myself if things are a bit overwhelming at times, or things just seem a particular kind of way. Just allowing time to adjust and communicating with each other. As Vanessa was talking about, like I would be speaking to my parents, especially about things I didn't understand a lot of the time when I could, just because they're just more experienced than me, and just leaning on them when I could, and really looking for their support.
I saw there's a question in the Q&A section that how could you get over the time difference? I think it's a really big problem that we need to address, is that I think most of the classes do provide video recordings. So if there is a huge time difference that, for example, the class is 8 a.m. In America, but it's 2 a.m. in China or any other countries. If you can't make to it, you could probably email the professor ahead of time and just explain your situation. I believe that most of the professors are really understanding about the situation, and you can, even though if the class is mandatory for you to go, I believe that it's possible for you to only watch the recordings and go to office hour in live if that's possible, because I do think part of the learning is needs to be in person or person to person, that you can ask a question to someone and you can get the answer instantly. So I believe that if you watch the recordings, try to go to office hour in person if that's possible. Yeah.
I wanted to quickly jump back to the question. I think what Annie said really stuck with me, is that it's okay, because we're going through this time where it's just a huge change. This is the first time that we're experiencing something like this, and so it's okay to trip and fall, but you will get past it, and it might be awkward. Maybe you send a message and nobody responds. Maybe you ask a question and nothing happens, but it'll be okay. Eventually you'll understand how it works. You'll find yourself meshing into this online virtual community that's being created right now, and it'll all be okay. But like Shitang said, do email your professors for asynchronous classes and get that figured out. Sleep is important.
Thank you, everyone. So on the same line as you've mentioned regarding watching videos, where would students find these recorded videos for their classes?
So I can start with that. I would say for things like that, it's really a per class basis. That's why, as Ayushi just said, it's really important to email your professors and let them know, especially if you will not be able to attend lectures live. Because I've had professors who, as soon as the lecture is over, they post it right to Canvas. Canvas is really, it's like the page that you get all your academic resources from for classes, for most classes, 95% of classes. But other professors actually create YouTube links that are specific to them and your class that you can go watch those videos. So I've experienced both of them. That's why it's really important to just talk to your professor, let them know, and they will let you know how to do it. So it's really a per class basis.
Right. Another questions that we have, as we know, this is International Parent and Family Orientation. The question's asking, what are things parents have to watch out for, can do, or should not do with students living with family and taking classes online? So best practices for parents.
This is a really difficult question to answer just because everyone has a different situation. Things are so different. But I think, like I said, having that open, like Vanessa said, having that open communication. So making sure you're not, I don't want to say disturbing your kid, but making sure you're being respectful of their space when they're learning, making sure to give them that space to learn, not having the TV up really loud. That happens a lot. My room is right next to the TV. So anytime anyone's on the TV, I know they're on the TV, and it's like I want to go on the TV too, but I can't. So keeping in mind that what you're doing has a domino effect on your family and vice versa.
I think that's a great question. I think personally, after living with not my parents, but my older siblings who sometimes think they're my parents during the spring quarter, I think support really is the most important thing, and like intentional support. So that really looks like different things for different people, but the quarter system goes by really quickly, right? So 4 weeks in, and a lot of students are already having their first midterms, sometimes 3 weeks in, right? And people react to things like that differently. And so sometimes if a student needs to go from being able to hang out with the family a lot to all of a sudden switching that to, okay, I need to be by myself the whole day at this particular side of the house, just watching TV, is like just supporting them and like letting them be able to have that space to study without feeling judged or without feeling pressured into being more active in family things. Because again, like the quarter system, the turnarounds are super quick, and deadlines and things like that can create a lot of pressure and stress for students. And so just making sure you're being understanding of what the students' needs are, whatever they are, and being willing to adjust.
Thank you. I'm glad that you mentioned how intensive the quarter system is, because our next question is in that regards. So as we know, the quarter system is quite fast and quick. Is there any advice for the first year student to get used to the quarter system?
All right, so before we get started, I do want to plug our program. The quarter system is very hard. It's 10 weeks of learning something and then taking an exam on it. That's like crazy. But and when it's your first quarter, it's really easy to get swept up in that. You think, oh, I have a couple weeks before my first midterm, and then before you know it, there's your midterm and it's the night before and you regret all your life decisions. But it's always good having someone to rely on, having someone you can go to. And I think our program, the International Peer Coaching Program, is really good for that. May briefly mentioned what we do at the intro. So we kind of keep students in check in with them weekly, make sure they know that midterms are coming up, they know that the class add and drop deadlines are coming up, things like that. Yeah.
Also, I think it's really important to realize that a quarter system go by weeks. So once a week is end, I think it's really beneficial for students to have a weekly summary to see what they've learned for the past week and start a new chapter on Monday. I figured this out when I was in sophomore year, spring quarter. The first quarter we gone to virtual learning. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that like a week has gone by and 1/10 of the learning material I should learn the 1/10 of the learning material. Yep.
And just to quickly add to that again, like quarter system is very intensive, as the question itself asked. I think one thing that sometimes shocks a lot of people is college really isn't high school where you can get away with a lot of bad habits of leaving things to the very last minute. I know I, for one, because the question asked if I could give any advice to first years. Again, I just think about giving myself advice. I would just tell myself that those things I used to do in high school where I would just chill until the very end because I knew I could as a smart kid. Everyone here is UCSD, so everyone's smart. We're all brilliant kids, but now we're all being challenged to incorporate good habits. And so you really can't get away with just leaving everything to last minute. So just knowing your deadlines ahead of time and planning for them would save you a lot of stress.
And to give like a concrete example of how you can keep up with the deadlines, Google Calendar is my best friend. I put down at the beginning of quarter, I go through the syllabus of the class, of every class that I have for that quarter. I put down all the deadlines of big and small assignments, and I set a timely reminder for myself to do those assignments, and they are really a lifesaver. So yeah, introduce your students to Google Calendar.
And for those y'all that are physical people, draw a 10x7 grid and do what you would, like Vanessa said, online, but do it on a piece of paper. I did that last quarter, spring quarter, and it was so nice because I remember forgetting my quizzes that were happening, but then I was like, oh no, wait, there's a quiz tomorrow. There's a quiz in 3 days. Let me start studying for that.
Thank you so much. Those were really great advice. And like Yushi mentioned, our peer coaches are here for your incoming students. And so they're almost, in a way, the human reminders for your students on their Google calendars throughout the quarter. This question is a little bit regarding the evaluation system here at UCSD. They wanted to know, is it a relative evaluation or is it an absolute evaluation? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that depends very much on your professor, your major, your classes. I've taken many classes that are just set grades. If you get a 90 to 80%, you're at a B. If you get an 80 to 70%, you're at a C. But then there are some classes that I've taken where the professor understands how hard it is, and they're like, okay, well, we'll grade it on a curve. The mean is going to be a C, the first standard deviation is going to be a B, et cetera, et cetera. So that definitely depends on your class and your major.
Thank you. This next one is asking, as parents, they might not know how much a child has done schoolwork or what their scores are. Is there a reminder for parents that will help them like pay more attention to their child's study? Like, how is a parent going to be able to help their student in that way if they don't know like what's going on?
I will answer this as a role of a student. I personally think that in college is very different from high school. You have more responsibilities, and also you have more things to handle. So although my first quarter, honestly, first year was very difficult because I was all on my own, but I learned and grow so much because I made mistakes and I procrastinated. I had bad grades. But from that experience, I also grew a lot. So I just learned the hard way to remind myself and to be more responsible. And even though my parents did call and check up on me, they're not always there, like literally by my side like I was in high school. So I had to learn how to adapt to situation. So I think as parents, I would personally advise that trust your kids, that they know what they're doing. And if they don't, they learn the hard way.
Yeah, I completely agree with Vanessa just said. I do think that going to college is something that you need to learn on your own, especially going to college abroad. You basically doing everything on your own. So as parents in this difficult times, I really suggest that you leave your kids to handle everything, try to handle everything on their own, kind of ease into the way that a person would study abroad. Try to imitate that that kind of environment and try to let them grow independently. Yeah, I think that will be a very beneficial way for your kids to grow.
They will ask for help if they need it. Trust me, I have gone to my parents many times when I needed help, and I appreciated them waiting for me to ask them for help, because I think that makes even the relationship between me and my parents so much more personal, so much more wholesome.
Thank you, Yushi, for that example. Well, I'm curious to know for the other student panel, how do you communicate your progress with your parents throughout the year?
I can answer this one. So again, my parents are in Nigeria. I get to see them like once, twice a year, maybe. There's not a lot of day-to-day checking in academic-wise. While we talk about other stuff, we don't really talk about my academics on a day-to-day. The thing with that is my parents understand that I'm internally driven, and so there's not a lot that they need to do, but they are paying my tuition, and so I do have to report to them my grades at the end of the quarters. I let them know every now and then. I'll tell my parents when I have a midterm that maybe could go a bit differently from what they're used to in terms of expectations. I let them know ahead of time when I'm in difficult situations, or there's just a lot of things happening, and perhaps they should expect a slight deviation from what type of grades they usually see. But I'm very honest with my parents about things like that. And at the end of the quarters, we get our grades back, and I always just forward it to them. And they have a look themselves, and we could discuss what needs discussing and vice versa.
Kind of going off of that, I think it's really cool in college because it's not all about classes. So yes, I will rant to my mother about how hard my physics exam was and how she should definitely expect a B and not the A that she used to in high school. But also I'll be like, wait, I signed up for this psychology club. I'm a psych major, and so it's helping me further my career. Or wait, I got this research position at the VA. Let me tell my parents about that, because that is also a form of progress.
Thank you so much. Those were really great examples. I'm sure the parents are glad to hear how you all interact with your family. But like you've mentioned before, all families are different, but these are some of the examples from our peer coaches. And so we have time for maybe one more question. So let's see. This one is very relevant. So it asks, how can we ask for support or help from the international peer coach?
Okay, I can take this. The easiest way would be to sign up right away from one of our codes. We have QR codes where the students can register for the program. To get one of these, I don't have access to type in the chat, but I will send the Instagram, and it would be as easy as following the Instagram or going to one of our websites, and you would just be able to right away get the QR code and sign up for the program.
All right, thank you everyone for your great answers. I'm gonna go ahead and give this to my colleague. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question. Let's see. Oh, actually, I don't think so. But I'm just gonna give this back to one of my colleagues here, Grace, to explain a little bit of other events and support that we have here for our international students.
First off, thank you so much to our incredible student panelists. As you can see, you are joining an amazing community. These students are really dedicated to supporting your students as they transition to UC San Diego. So I'd really recommend to utilize this incredible service. The fact that there are these like bright, compassionate, just really quality humans that are here to welcome your students in their first year is a really great opportunity that I can't recommend enough. And some other things that I would recommend are for your student to check out our Globally Engaged Tritons calendar. We have heard from a lot of students that one of the primary things they're concerned about is how do I make friends, especially if I'm studying remotely for my first quarter, for my first year at UC San Diego. Like, what is that gonna look like? What is that potential? And we have actually shifted all of our events to be virtual events. So your student is not going to be at a deficit for joining virtually. In fact, that is like the standard way that we're hosting these events, because we recognize that we want all of our students to be engaged and we're all in this together. So if you go to the link ievents.ucsd.edu, that's kind of your one-stop shop for all events involving global engagement. You'll also notice that a lot of these events are at time zones that are hoping to incorporate different time zones around the world. So we understand that our students are spread out across the globe, and we want to make sure that accessibility is there, that they can participate. So really encourage you to check that out. And then the next thing I encourage you to check out is our iPrograms website. So if you go to iprograms.ucsd.edu, our iEvents is a live calendar that shows you what's coming up, what's next. And our iPrograms kind of gives you an introduction into what are these programs. It kind of gives you a little taste of what they are, and that kind of can help your student determine what they might want to get more involved in. So as you can see, we have a lot of really cool different programs, international peer coaches being one of them. It's a chance for students to connect in a myriad of ways. So whether it's just socially, they just want to hang out and take a break and play games, they can go to Intercultural Social Hour. If they want a more intentional space to talk about topics that are really relevant to the international student experience, they can attend some of our community building circles. If they're curious about COVID-19 and how does recent current events affect their status as an international student, they can come to ISPO chats and have a direct line with ISPO leadership to advocate for change, to get the latest information, and to be able to share that with their peers. So like I said, there's a lot of great content there, a lot of great programs. And if you go to iprograms.ucsd.edu, you can learn more about each one of them and then decide what you might want to get more involved in.
Thank you so much, Grace, for all those amazing events. ISPO is really, really great, and they're really here for your international students. We love working and partnering with ISPO. So of course, can't go without plugging our program once again. Please let your student know that they have a peer support network here that are ready to help them transition into their college experience at UCSD. Like we mentioned, our students are undergraduate international students themselves, and so they've definitely been gone through the experience here with adjustments and everything in between. And as they've also done virtual classes already, they have a little bit more insight on how that works and how to navigate that as an international student. So please, I definitely recommend you encouraging your students to join our program.
All right, thank you everyone for contributing so much great information about UC San Diego. Thank you, May, for moderating the panel, and Grace for your wonderful information about how students can stay connected to UC San Diego. So as we wrap up, I want to share with you again, if you've been with us this entire week, you already know this, but if you are new, there is a setting on YouTube, which is where we will upload our videos from this entire week, where you can select these settings option on YouTube and follow these 4 steps so that you can listen to the videos in your preferred language through the closed caption feature. So we'll provide more information about that too as we follow up with future emails. Next slide. Again, you may have heard this before, but let this not be the last time you hear from us. We have many more webinars that are specific to parents and families coming up during Homecoming at Home, October 19th through the 25th. Find out more about what we're doing during that week specific to you to help you support your student, whether they're learning from home or learning from campus, at parents.ucsd.edu. Registration, you can do that at homecoming.ucsd.edu. Thank you so much for your time. We hope to see you in the future. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to our staff and our friends and partners and everyone else who have supported the program. We will talk to you soon. Have a great day.